Hi guys, welcome back to our channel, the number one place for people who love design, art and all things creative. I'm Jacqueline and I'm an interior architect and designer here at D&B, and in today's video I'm going to share with you the note-taking method I used whilst I was a design student at university. When you're a design, art or architecture student, you take notes in a different way from say a law student or medical student would, which is why for me the method I'm going to show you was the most productive way for me to memorize things, and I think it will also be a good method for other creative students. This video was actually suggested by one of our lovely creative crew members, so I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you to all of you for growing our channel and spreading the love in the comment sections. It honestly means so much to us. With that being said, if you're interested, let's jump in. Now, I'm sure that you've probably been told before that everyone learns in very different ways, right? It sounds so simple and so basic, but that fact alone is why you shouldn't be writing your notes down line after line after line. Think about it for a sec. Creative people, on the whole, we can assume, tend to memorize more through visual techniques for learning, since they're very visual people. The three main areas for memorizing information are visual, where using highlighters, pictures, drawing things out, and flashcards are used. The second is auditory, so you can memorize things by repeating them out loud or listening to an audio track. And the last learning type is kinesthetic, where learners absorb information best through touch, movement, and motion. Although all this kind of sounds boring, when I figured out which type of learner I was, it actually really helped me study and revise for exams. I really urge you to find out what note-taking techniques and learning methods would work best for you, because honestly, everyone is so different. But unfortunately, the only way to truly find out which one is the most beneficial for you is a case of trial and error. I have to admit that it can be so easy to fall into the trap of writing out notes really neatly, just because it looks really pretty and aesthetically pleasing, and especially because it seems to be what everyone does here on YouTube and Pinterest. And back when I was in high school, I even did my notes like that. And to be honest, that's fine if that method works for you, but for me, I realized that although I had some bomb-looking notes, none of the information actually stayed in my head. But I knew I was a visual learner, so I tried to explore different methods whilst I was at university. And I also knew I was an auditory learner, so whilst I was at high school, I would record myself saying out loud my lesson notes and close my eyes and listen to that back with headphones. I guess kind of like a meditation track. As much effort as that was, I actually found that it was one of the most effective ways to take in and retain information. Think of it like a song. The more you listen to it, the more you remember the words, and before you know it, you know the whole song inside and out. So take it from someone who's been and done the pretty note taking. Just find out what really will work for you first before you buy a pack of mild liners. Okay, so imagine you're in your architecture, interior design, graphic design, whatever creative class you're in. You're sitting there writing out in a very neat and pretty way all the information your professor is rambling to you non-stop. Let's face it, at the speed they're going, it's not going to look like this. I think that it's a completely unrealistic task, to have all the information written down and to have it looking nice at the same time. So when I was at university, I would listen to my lectures and write down as much information as I could whilst they were talking, and by the end, my notes kind of looked illegible. Therefore, to actually make it readable again, I would go home and redo my notes in my preferred method. And that might seem like double the amount of work to some of you, but I actually found that by writing out the information twice, it helped me to retain that information even more, because I guess it's kind of like a memorization technique. So my productive note-taking method I used at university was a form of doing a mind map, and I'll show you exactly how I do them in a bit. Mind maps are fantastic memorization tools because it actually mimics the way our mind works. I also found out that Leonardo da Vinci and Albert Einstein also use mind maps, so they must be pretty darn good. Your mind doesn't think in straight lines. Your brain is connected by 100 trillion different synapses. Neurons bounce memories and ideas off neighboring neurons. If the connection is relevant, the synapse is strengthened. The structure of a neuron looks kind of like a mind map, which is no coincidence. This is literally how we're built to think. They are easy to memorize and much more, I find, than writing a whole page of text and just highlighting a couple words. It helps you to recall information quickly, makes concepts easier to understand, works alongside your creativity, and honestly, so much more. There's a great TED Talk by Hazel Wagner, and I'll link it in the description, but she's just fantastic at explaining why mind maps are great learning tools. So go check it out because she explains it a lot better than me and in much more detail. But for now, let's move on to how I create mine. So to create my notes, I used to use a plain piece of paper, some markers, and just a plain black fine liner. Just keep it really simple. By all means, you can create a jazzy one like this with lots of different colours if that helps you. But like I said before, prettifying notes didn't really do anything for my brain to retain information, so I just like to stick to 2 colours. Okay, so this is actually a book of my 3rd year lecture notes, but I thought I'd start a new one to show you how I do it as I go. Essentially, I would start in the middle of the page and write the lecture topic for that day. Let's say it was about the RIBA plan of work, which is our design process structure here. So here in the UK, it's a document that all architects and designers use as a guide for any project. And by the way, you can do this landscape if you prefer. To be honest, I just liked to do it portrait because I would put it into this A4 folder when I was done. And I just found it was easier to flip through that way, but it really doesn't matter. I then write the first heading, which is the theme. So the first design stage is strategic definition, which is basically unlocking the initial brief and understanding what the client is asking us for, and just diving into the project details before we begin the brief. And then any additional information, I like to add another branch and write on any details, but the main points are already listed out. So this is just any other information that I think could be useful. You can also box these notes into different shapes if you want to really differentiate the different areas you're talking about, but for me, I just kind of like to keep it simple and clean. This lecture would actually look quite good as a flow chart, as it does have a numeric order, but I just add a number into each point to signify the system. Unlike my lecture notes where I would try and scribe what the professor was saying, in my mind maps I would try not to use full sentences and just write down the main phrases. When all of it's written, I would then like to go over each section and do some kind of doodling to highlight the main points. Just another visual technique that I think helped me to fully understand the lecture and, most importantly, remember the information. I like to keep mine quite minimal, but I have seen very crazy, colourful ones. If that's your kind of thing, just do something that will definitely work for you. I just found that this method really worked for remembering information, but also simplifying the information, so I wasn't writing and trying to remember long sentences that were just unnecessary. Another thing I see a lot is people buying iPads to write notes on. Yeah. Although it's a really trendy and popular way to write notes, I can guarantee you that it's always going to be much easier and quicker to just use real paper. Take it from someone who used to draw on an iPad. Seriously ask yourself, is it worth buying a $1,000 notebook versus one you can buy at a stationery store for $5? Now, by no means am I on iPads. I love my iPad and I use it every single day. I'm just saying that if you're going to buy an iPad specifically for taking notes, just think about it first and think if it's the best decision to make. I know for me, after using it to write notes and drawing out concept diagrams and that kind of thing, it's just better to use classic pen and paper. But you know, I went through that iPad phase and I'm sure you're going to go through that iPad phase too at some point. Also, I want to say that most videos you see here on YouTube for iPad note-taking or aesthetic notes tutorials are almost all not done in real time in a lecture hall. So if you're thinking of using an iPad to create cute notes whilst your professor is rambling 1,000 words a minute, it may be a little unrealistic. If you're not so into rewriting your notes after class, or maybe you're just not into drawing so much, then there are actually a lot of really cool online mind map generator tools. All you have to do is type in the information and then print it out. It's as easy as that. And just in case you're interested in those, I've linked them down below. If you guys need more advice, then I have a whole playlist about tips for architects, designers, and students, so I've linked that down in the description too. If you're new to our channel, then I just want to say welcome. On the channel, we talk about interior design, architecture, and so much more cool creative stuff. So if any of that interests you, make sure to subscribe to see videos just like this one. Leave me a notebook emoji down below to let me know that you guys enjoyed this video or learned something new. And if you liked it, then please give it a big thumbs up, because by doing that, you actually really help our channel reach even more people. Okay guys, I hope that this video helped you with your design degree studies, or maybe if you're in high school. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!